Hey guys, how's it going? It's the Anime Over Analyst here, and today's video is a Black Clover opening analysis video. This is going to be the opening analysis to Black Clover Opening 10. I'm doing the second version of the opening because it's got cleaner visuals and just overall looks better. Otherwise, it's pretty much the exact same opening as the first version. So, without any further ado, let's just kind of jump right on into it. Also, comment down below whether you like this layout or not, or if you just prefer the whole full screen layout in the previous videos. I'm experimenting with different things, and since these videos don't really get that many views, I'm this is where I do my experimentation. So yeah, we're gonna jump into this opening. Now I will state that this opening, well, first of all, I'm using the Crunchyroll. You can't see it really well in the corner, but I'm using the Crunchyroll website. And yeah, so the opening starts off with Secre falling down in complete darkness. And you're going to see a common theme in this opening. And that theme is pretty much darkness, despair, and demons, with like the demon representing the color red. Everything else is going to be in black and white, which kind of shows kind of like the despair that is, being felt throughout this entire arc. This is kind of the climax of this arc, the Eye of the Midnight Sun arc. And this OP is one of my favorite openings just because of some of the themes that is portrayed throughout the entire OP and not just kind of here and there. So, like I said, we're going to start off with black and white with Secre falling from the sky in kind of complete darkness with we got this kind of light appearing above her. And if we're going to kind of stick with what I believe that this light has been throughout this entire channel, I'm going to say this light is hope. Light to me has pretty much represented hope throughout every single opening in this series. If you don't believe me, just go back to any of the previous opening analysis that I've done, the breakdowns, and you'll see that for the most part, this hope, the light pretty much represents hope, and that could be in the form of Asta. That can be in the form of just like the wizard knights in general, or it could just literally just mean hope purely. But I do think this means hope because this is the point where Secre as a character has actually really been feeling depressed because Secre literally has been I believe they call it a swallowtail, or those type of birds, like for hundreds of years. I believe it's been actually over a century, and she's been trapped in this form. So just a really nice depiction of her character as she's falling through. And then we get this really nice and clean uh close up of her face, and as she's falling, we got that light. Remember, I'm saying the light represents hope. It's shining on her face and kind of like allowing her to wake up. So she's waking up. Now, as you notice, like I said, she's got red eyes. This is because uh, Secre is cursed. She's got like some kind of demonic curse on her because she used forbidden magic. She sealed the Wizard King using her trap magic, which is forbidden magic, causing her to sprout devil horns, which you can kind of see over here in this corner, and uh, have the red eyes. And that's the kind of the same reasoning that Asa has red eyes that, we're going to point out later on. So the scene continues, she's falling, and then we got a nice quick snapshot of Nero. It's basically Secre in bird form. As Nero is flying around, we see the ancient demon behind, and this was Licked when Licked turned into kind of like a demon when he fell into despair. And he went up against Lemuel, the first Wizard King. And you can even see here like the silhouette of Lick's face as he's falling into despair. Um, so you and once again, we have this is the silhouette of Nero, and it's really showcasing how Nero has experienced all these things leading up to her, and it's really kind of just showing the background to this character. Now, if you looked at this OP in a vacuum, you wouldn't have known that Nero is Secre. You would have just thought it was a random bird, but it's not. And I actually kind of like how this is all lit up, kind of like it's the past, and you kind of see Lemuel looking forward because Lemuel also kind of represents hope to Segre. Lemuel was did not, did not diss her, did not make fun of her because of her powers. In fact, he saw her powers as something unique. Basically, her time with Lemuel was like the, the brightest time in her life. And in contrast, her taking on the form of Nero may have been one of the more darkest times of her life because she was trapped by this curse. So I really, really like this contrast between the light here in the surroundings and then the silhouette of the bird. I really, really like that. Once again, we get the demon off to the side. You got Lemuel using his, I believe he actually uses light magic and takes on the demon. So we kind of end up here. We got Lemuel once again in statue form because that's what Nero did. She turned him into kind of a statue so that he can be revived if ever need be whenever the demons come back, which obviously they came back. So we've got Nero. It's going to fly away and you leaving Asta waking up looking at the skull with it will be Lemuel up towards the top. And Asta is kind of like the new generation. He's the new hope. And I like it because all around him it's light. Really, this entire OP focuses purely on light and darkness, and I love it. So, we have Asta there. We get this cool transition. Excuse me. We've got the 5-leaf clover. This is Asta's grimoire, I believe. But you can see that it's becoming a little bit corrupted because of the demon that's inside. And so he summons the grimoire and he's standing in rain. Once again, darkness surrounding him. And you can see that the light is focused kind of purely on him. And he's looking right up at it. Once again, if I'm going with the basis that the light just purely means hope, he's always looking at hope. He's always looking forward. And that's kind of what I'm going with. You know, all the characters that kind of look at towards the light, they're looking for hope. They're looking, when they're surrounded by darkness, they're always looking towards the light. And so, one of the other aspects that I love about this OP that the other OPs don't really tackle so much is kind of despair. And you can't see it too well because his face is kind of zoomed out, but he isn't the most happiest. He kind of looks downtrodden. You know, he got the sword down, and I think that's actually really important because Asta, as a character, he's a super positive character, and I believe my interpretation of Asta is that he's constantly plagued with self-doubt, with forms of anxiety, with depression, but he refuses to let those feelings control him. He's always looking towards the future. He's always looking towards being optimistic and being positivity. Hence why he's always looking towards the light, even though he's surrounded by darkness. That's just my own personal interpretation. Of course, we get these lightning flashes of the demon as basically the demon inside him and the demon that's trying to take over the world. I don't actually remember if that demon was named. I don't think it was actually ever named. But we know the demon that's inside Asta, but I'm not going to reveal that name just yet. And so, basically, there you can kind of see the contrasting there. I believe that one's actually the demon inside Asta as it's plaguing down on him. And you can see, as we get closer to Asta, he's not the happiest. You can tell. He's just he's being plagued by all this darkness, all this doubt. But he's going to look up towards the light because that is Asta's character. Even when it's raining down upon him, just all the darkness raining down upon him, he's going through it. Another reason why this OP is one of my favorites is just this rain effect. The rain effect is amazing in this OP. So we transition here over to Patri, and Patri is running also towards the light. I think he's also looking for hope. He's looking for hope, but as you can see, it's getting darker and darker around him. This is kind of signifying like the how he starts falling into despair, how he starts, becoming a dark elf. And so he's kind of running. He's really, trying to catch up to Licht. He's really, really looking for it. He trips and he starts slowing down because he's really, really starting to be taken in by these dark feelings of despair, literally, because he can't save Licht. Of course, he's looking up towards the light and crying as well because he wants to see hope. He's been in despair for so much. He wants to see the light. He really is just wanting to be hopeful, and he's just in so much despair right now because his mentor Licht had died, had turned into a demon at some point. Like Patre had to go and bring back all the other elves and try to take revenge against the humans. Like, he was just so full of hate, so full of revenge. And so seeing him here in just full despair is really quite powerful, and I love this image. And so he starts to look down and just keeps on moving forward because he feels like he can't be accepted by the light. That's kind of like the epitome of despair. But we get this nice silhouette of Licht in ghost form because Licht does pass away towards the end of this arc. And Licht is here to pick up Patri, saying, hey man, don't despair. And I like it because Licht is completely covered in light. Like, if you look at this, he is almost purely white because of just how much of a positive influence he is towards Patri and all the other elves. The next scene we have is Yami slashing down, once again, light pointing towards that. Like I said, this is a huge through line throughout the entire opening is light and darkness, just kind of seeing what the light is. And it's real interesting because Yami's power is darkness. In fact, Yami means darkness in Japanese. And he's slicing down at the darkness, kind of like, I'm going to fight you. I'm going to beat you. Then we're going to cut over to not Charlotte. This is Sharla the Elf. You can tell because of the pointy ears, and you can kind of see a little bit of the makeup here. And so you see him, and she's looking down. The light is on her back as she's looking, so her face is covered in shadow. Once again, falling more into despair. You're going to see a lot of despair, mainly coming from the elves in this arc, because the elves were manipulated the entire time. The elves got massacred by the humans, tried to seek revenge against the humans just to be found out that they're being manipulated by a devil. So really, the elven race pretty much goes extinct towards the end of this arc. And so you can really just see it's more despair now. It's no longer really hatred. It's just more despair, hence all the rain as well. So she's falling into despair, and I'll get into Yami Sharla later. We got Yuno. He's also looking down, and you could see that the elven form coming out as it's raining across him. Once again, very much like Sharla, where like the elven form is kind of wanting to come out. That being said, Yuno's got a special elf because it was Licht's unborn child that's inside Yuno. So that's why he was able to maintain control of himself. It's because the elven side, his elven nature, was never truly born, never really had a conscience. So that's why Yuno was able to maintain control, even though he is part elf, which is really fascinating. I love that. And so he's looking down. Next, we get this really intense close-up of Secre as she continues to open her eyes towards the light, and you can just see the red in her eyes, the demon power that she has because of that curse, because she now transform into a bird, because she had locked away really the one person that really, really meant anything to her, which was Lumiere. But she's opening her eyes up because I believe the light is bringing her hope. And you can even see she opens her eyes and she sees the statue of Lemuel, and she has hope now. The statue's all lit up, all white, because this to her is hope. That not only does Lemuel come and bring a stop to the war, but he literally helps take down the demon uh, towards the end of the arc. So she's walking towards him because, like I said, he represents hope to her, and as well as he represents all that is good in the world. So I really like that. And we get this really beautiful top-down shot as she gets closer to him. It's still continuing to rain. Also, if you're wondering why do I keep pausing it, it's because if I don't pause it, these videos tend to get copyright claimed. And then you see here, she's using her trap magic to unlock it. It's not trap, now that I think about it, because that is Zora's magic. It's like locking magic, I think. No, actually, Zora's magic is ash magic. So I believe hers is like lock, trap. That's the gist. It's not really trap magic because that's Zora's, but it's like this unlocking power, this locking, unlocking. She's almost like Sora from Kingdom Hearts. She can unlock and lock any keys. in that aspect. In fact, if she just waves around a giant keyblade, I'd call her canon to like the series. Anyways, so she goes and starts, awakening Lemuel, and then we get these kind of flashes of the demon, and these are so fast that it's so easy to miss him at first. Like I'm on 0.25 speed, and I can barely catch up to him. So, like it's just like 2 or 3 frames, but it's the demon that's sitting there, basically being the darkness. See, I can't even catch up in time, but that there is the form of the demon. And we're getting closer and closer as he's getting more and more powerful. And you can kind of start to see a little bit of red in his eyes. And we get these huge juxtapositions. We've got Lemuel. He's cracking because he's starting to get awakened. And basically it's literally we're just pitting Lemuel up with the demon as the demon's getting much more powerful, and you can even see the red in his eyes and inside of his mouth, really representing this evil power. And he is darkness. Like if you see, everything is in like this grayscale color. Like he's not purely white, even though the light is behind him. He's in pure shadow, which is a really cool touch, really showing the negative aspect. Now this here may look like weird animation, but this is a power that the demon summons to literally eradicate all magic. And it damages Yami at one point because he tries to slice into it, and then it like falls on top of Asta. The good news is Asta doesn't have any mana, doesn't have any magic, so it had no effect on Asta whatsoever, which was really cool. However, all the other Magic Knights had to stay away from this kind of goop. And you see another picture of the demon. He's backing away. This is a really cool scene because you have Asta here and here. You can always tell because of the wings, and with Asta having the wing on the left side and having it on the right side. It's a staple. And so you can see that it's these two against the devil with Secre. I didn't even notice that until now. Secre just kind of just hovers there as Lemuel the demon stares her down because she as well is part demon. So that's really cool. The background is, of course, that gooey stuff. And then off to the side here, you just barely see, right here. Come on, pause. Okay, well, it didn't pause. But it was Lemuel and Licht right here. Lemuel, and you can't really see Licht, but he's in the shape of the sword, as you can see, that because Licht uses light magic. And so Lemuel and Licht is teaming up with Asta, Yuno, and Secre to take down this devil. That's 5-on-1, and we get this. It's a really cool shot because it just pans around the demon. The demon is the center of attention. And he's like the epitome of despair and all of those negative feelings. He is the reason everything is dark. And even behind, we see Licht right about to bring the smackdown upon him with the light magic. And then we get this really, really cool zoom outs. And then we got, of course, the gooey stuff right about to try and take out all the other magic knights because that's just what this thing does. And so it's coming out, and it's going to start to attack Yami and Sharla. Once again, though, they're in a pool of light. They're in hope, and even though they are back to back, it's literally human and elf working together to fight off against this oppressive darkness, which is a really, really cool juxtaposition. And of course, they're in light, like I said, really representing hope because they pretty much have each other, and they're going to look at fight these things. They even give this kind of glance at each other in recognition that even though they are of different races, different species, they have to work together in order to take on this ever looming threat. Then we get this amazing shot of Lumiere and Licht as they're wielding the same sword together. They're both pretty beaten up, but they're pointing it at the demon because they are working together, human and elf. They are putting their differences aside. This is the old generation putting their differences aside to work together, which is just super cool. And I like it because Secre sees this. And Secre sees it and acknowledges that these people, the people that she has looked up to all her life, are working together and bringing her hope. So that's super, super cool. We get this really, really beautiful zoom out of just Secre with the wind blowing past her. Beautiful zoom out. Now, this is a really, really interesting scene because everything that is going to happen here, the characters have connections to each other. So, for example, we start off with Yami and Sharla, human elf, and their connection is that they worked together to overcome those that kind of like demon thing. And in fact, Yami was the one that did the dimension slash to pretty much defeat the demon to begin with, which was super cool. So they had to work together to help defeat the demon. And then we got Yami and Patri, who overtook Charlotte. And this is interesting in itself because Yami and Patri were pretty much fighting each other throughout most of the I won't say most of this arc, but for a good portion of this arc, because even back when they were it was like the Ghosh arc when Ghosh had to go and save the children in that cave, and Patri showed up. You know, we had Licht and Patri, and now they're working together against the demon. And the reason why I'm saying all this is because the reason why they're all working together is because the light is all coming from the same place. They're all coming to the same place, which tells me they're facing the same direction. They're all facing the same direction. Next, we have Licht. Licht is literally like the father figure to Patri. Patri looks up to Licht. Hence why I think Licht looks a little bit brighter than Patri, but I digress. They're both also working together to defeat the demon. Next up, we have Lumiere. Licht and Lumiere are, once again, elf, human. And I like this transition because we went from Yami being a human to elf, to, like, elf possessing to elf, now back to human, because now we have humans on this side. just kind of showing that we're all just kind of like, they were kind of like two sides of the same coin, literally. And it didn't really matter what side of the coin they're on because they're all still fighting the same for the same cause. I love it. Then we have Secre. Oh, I thought I paused it. Back up, back up. We have Secre and Lumiere. Secre looked up to Lumiere. Like I said, Lumiere was her hope, the one person that she really took inspiration for. And so she absolutely like looked up to Lumiere. So I love the juxtaposition here. Then we've got Asta. And what's really cool here is that half her face is in shadow along with Asta's. However, the one thing that's really interesting here is that the side that's not in shadow is really his demon side. And so that that kind of is really interesting in an artistic standpoint. I really don't know what else to say about that besides the fact that it's almost like he's accepting the demon inside of him, and it just the imagery of these two characters juxtaposed to each other, with both of them being kind of they're not possessed per se, but they've got the demon powers inside of them, and just kind of the light juxtaposition. I think it's just really cool. If you think there's something more to it, please put a comment down in the comment section down below. And then we got off to the left here. And now this is something that I also really want to point out. Normally in any of these openings, whenever Yuno and Asta are being juxtaposed to each other, Asta is almost always on the left side, and Yuno is almost always on the right side. They've switched it here. So now Asta is on the right side and Yuno's on the left side. I don't really know the meaning behind this besides the fact that it just looks super cool. Maybe you could say that they swapped sides in the way of power scale, where like Yuno was always the person that Asta looked up to, so he was always on the right side while Asta was on the left side, and now they look up to each other. I kind of like to see it as they just see each other as equals. And the reason why I say it like that is because, well, both of their powers are touching. They're like exact mirrors of each other, almost, with like even the lighting being almost exactly the same on them, except the powers being mirrored. So it's almost like they're reflections of each other a little bit, at least maybe in the case of power. I don't know, that could be really cool. What do you guys think? And so we get this really cool zoom out as both Yuno and Asta are wielding their swords. Once again, they're still being mirrored to each other, which is also really cool. So this whole scenario is just mirrored. They're being mirrored, and they're just going to go straight for the kill. We have Asta. Once again, the only color in the frame is the demon power that's in his right eye, and going for the kill. Then we get towards the finale of this opening, and we see Secre. She's in shadow, but she's turning around to where this light's coming from. Once again, got the red in her eyes, but it's doling out, as in like that color is fading. She's no longer really having that demon power control her. And she was looking at the two people that really mattered the most to her in the past, which are, let's fast forward this a little bit. We have Lumiere on the left and Licht on the right. These are like the two people that really meant the most to her when she was living in the past. However, in the back is color. This is where the light's been coming from. It's hope. It's the future. It's with Asta and the rest of the game. This is where everything's going, and it's behind these doors that are opening up. And you got the smile on these guys' face, as in they're welcoming her into the future. They're telling her, hey, stop feeling despair. Go, keep moving on, keep moving towards the future. Literally, go towards the light. And they even hold out their hands, going like, "Hey, come on, we're inviting you. Come with us." It's not even really come with us because we know these guys pass away. But like, we don't need to say this is heaven, as in like, come die for us. No, it's more of a stop feeling despair. Come towards the future. There are people who accept you and want you in the future, which is so nice and so cool. That's why I really like that introduction of color there, because it's just a rainbow effect. And you can see the effect it has on Segre, because this is the people she's looked up to in the past who had fallen, and she's in despair, of course, but she's wanting to move on. And the fact that these people are accepting of her, we even see color in her hair as the color is just starting to flow. We got more of a bluish tinge to it instead of like the normal black. Just really cool. And then we got, of course, these rainbow effects around the title. So really, really powerful opening there, with just this whole story of Secre just feeling so down and feeling so depressed. And we're ending up with just that whole ending there with, you know, the two people that mattered the most to her saying, "Move on. Move on. There's no need to feel sorry anymore. There's no need to feel so depressed." And so that's really it. Of course, like I said, I'm using the Crunchyroll version of this opening. Um, so, definitely check out the openings. This is probably one of my longest OP analysis ever. And so if you made it to this far in the uh the analysis, comment down below "I made it," because this one was a marathon. This is a whole 32-minute long video, so thank you all so much. I'm the anime overanalyst, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.